Birdperson is easily one of the best side characters in Rick and Morty, as Rick's closest friend, BP, is one of only a few who can truly understand this troubled scientist. He can genuinely see behind his shielded pain.
No, Morty, your grandfather is indeed in very deep pain.
Because let's face it, Rick is a mess. But who can blame him? He watched his very own family being brutally murdered by another version of himself. This traumatic event sent Rick on a murderous downward spiral that saw him traveling across the multiverse and taking out several other Ricks to avenge his family. But one day, Rick took a break from all of the slaughter to attend the birding Manapalooza Floggerbog. This is where he first met Birdperson and the two bonded over hallucinogens. And with Squanchy, they became super close, rocking out on stage and attending several stand-up shows. But it wasn't just all playtime. A skilled fighter, Rick enlisted Birdperson to help him on his crusade against the other Ricks. In exchange, Rick promised Birdperson to aid in his fights too, and together they formed the ragtag resistance group ready to fight the Battle of Blood Ridge. This was a fight between Birdperson's people and the Galactic Federation, who had previously invaded Birdworld. And BP and Rick were a badass team and wiped out the Federation's army successfully. But even though they won, this memory would become a painful one for Rick, all because he finally allowed himself to be vulnerable by asking BP to join him on his adventures, explaining that he cared deeply for him.
You matter to me.
But Birdperson turned him down and instead gave him a beacon should he need any assistance in the future. Now, a lot of people have interpreted this scene as Rick coming out to Birdperson romantically and Birdperson rejecting him, while others regard this as purely platonic. But where do you stand with this? Let me know in the comments below. By the way, this is probably a very important time to mention that if you don't subscribe, then it's considered a big old D move in bird culture. Anyway, even though Rick was deeply hurt, he still cared for his friend, and they continued to be close throughout the years. So much so, it's said that Birdperson was even there when Morty was born. Their reunion. When Rick threw a banging party at his house, he ignited the beacon to summon Birdperson.
Who is in danger?
Grandpa!
Birdperson!
And it was at this party where he met a girl called Tammy, and she was all over our feathered friend. And he quickly fell for her too, even if reluctant at first, after recently coming out of a soul bond. After the party, like a good guest, Birdperson stayed behind to clean up, and it was here that he revealed to Morty the sad secret behind Rick's famous catchphrase.
In my people's tongue, it means, I am in great pain, please help me.
And with that, he flew Tammy away back to his homeworld. Saving Morty. We don't really see Birdperson again until season 2. When Morty stole his grandfather's portal gun, he hopped across universes to find his missing parents. This is where he then found himself on a mysterious planet and was luckily found by Birdperson. He then took the boy back to his house to fix the portal gun, and on the walls were several photographs of him and Rick. This showed us that although he rejected Rick all those years ago, he still deeply cares for him. And BP not only fixed the gun, but also convinced Morty to stop giving Rick such a hard time. And it's at this point where we meet Tammy yet again, who now lives with Birdperson in their nice little nest. And they balance each other out too, with Birdperson being more stoic and reserved, while Tammy was a whole lot friskier.
I don't know what humans eat.
You know what this human eats.
Don't be gross, Tammy.
Bird.
Therefore, it wasn't too long before Birdperson proposed. The wedding. Rick and the rest of the Smiths were invited to Tammy and BP's wedding, and Rick at first refused to go, but his defiance turned into reluctance after the alien messenger sucked Jerry up and took him to the wedding. And at first, Rick was a total bummer of a wedding guest. And this harks back to the whole platonic/romantic argument, where some may interpret that Rick's behavior is romantic jealousy, although it could be argued that he's simply cynical about weddings. especially seeing as he never got his happily ever after with his own wife. Either way, Rick wasn't the only one with issues. We soon learn that Beth was secretly jealous too, but of her father and Birdperson shared history, especially seeing as he was so absent in her childhood. And even though with all of these complicated feelings flying around, Tammy and Birdperson were declared husband and wife. This heartfelt ceremony must have warmed Rick's rigid heart, as during dinner he toasted to the happy couple and wished them all the best.
Birdperson is my best friend, and if he loves Tammy, well, then I love Tammy too.
But in a twist, Tammy declared that she was an undercover agent for the Galactic Federation and announced that everyone at the wedding was under arrest before blasting a confused Birdperson. This pissed off Rick and he took out several aliens in his process until Squanchy took over. This allowed him and his family to escape. But don't worry guys, this isn't the end of Birdperson. Phoenix Person. Back with Tammy and the Federation, they took BP's body and made some moderations and resurrected him. But she wasn't done, arriving onto Earth and abducting the two Beths. And just before she was about to shoot Rick, he turned the tables and ended up blasting her in the head. Killing his best friend's fiance / murderer must have felt good. But as he'd soon discover, BP wasn't dead. Not exactly. When he boarded the Federation ship to rescue the Beths, Rick was shocked to find out the truth when he came face to face with Birdperson.
It is now Phoenix Person.
Rick tried to reason with him, but he was too far gone, and with his new weapon upgrades, Phoenix almost obliterated Rick until his daughters gave him a last-minute assist. Jerry provided a further distraction, allowing Beth to switch off the bird. Rick then collected his lost friend, storing him in the basement until he could reverse the damage. The return of Birdperson. Rick repaired a lot of the exterior damage, but to truly bring his friend back, Rick had to enter his subconscious to wake him up. But Birdperson had no interest in coming back, preferring to stay in his memories, and so he avoided Rick. So after traveling across Birdperson's memories, he tracked him down and confronted his old best friend. And Rick was only really able to convince BP to come back after revealing that Tammy gave birth to a secret child. Now with a reason to live, they escaped the confines of his mind and returned to the real world. Once they woke up, Rick wanted to hang out with his best friend like old times, but BP was naturally irked that Rick kept this huge secret from him, so he took flight in order to find his child. His daughter, as it turns out, was being held in a maximum security prison by the Federation, and she is just as hardcore as her parents. And as we hurtle into season 6, expect this storyline to continue, with BP finally getting to rescue his daughter. And hopefully with a little help from Rick, who always seems to have his best friend's back. And so we have come to the end of the video and the timeline of Birdperson so far. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.